Hey, so if you're curious about your forecast for the month of December, then this is the place to be, because I'm about to look at the forecast for every single sign of the zodiac for the month of December in 2023. This is the very last month. I've done every month this year in the same way, pretty much. So yeah, this is a wrap for 2023. Now, before I get going, there's a few things I do want to clarify. First of all, who I am. I'm Louisa Tannermunson from Feel Good Astrology. And I like to record videos to help people about astrology. I really like to teach people about how you can feel empowered with astrology. That's my real mission. And I do work with clients. I have a very full working day. I am actually going to give myself a holiday. I haven't had a holiday in about 3 years. So I'm going to have 6 weeks off soon. So if you do want to work with me, you need to get in really quickly. But if not, you can start working with me from February. But anyway, in today's long episode, I'm going to be looking at every single sign of the zodiac. And people ask me each month, do these forecasts work for the sun, the moon, or the ascendant? And I say, use them for whatever you want. Okay. I do get questions like, why are you using equal house rather than Placidus? Or why are some signs shorter than others? And the true answer is, what I do each month is I prepare a small chart for each sign. And basically what I do is put in positions of where the new moon is, the full moon, any retrogrades, anything that I think is notable in terms of the energy. And then I record something live. I'm a psychic astrologer. I don't just use astrology. I often channel while I'm doing these. So I never know completely where they're going to go or where the wisdom's going to come from. I just trust that what needs to come out will come out. And therefore, sometimes some of these are slightly shorter and some of these are slightly longer. If I feel a sign really needs a little pick me up, then I give them a bit longer. It was really weird. Last month, somebody complained because the sign of Cancer was half the length of everyone else's. There's not much I can say about that. I did hope that the shorter version was still good. I keep recording until I think that that is a wrap and that is what you need to know. So my apologies if you're offended by that. But I also reminding you all, I'm not actually charging anyone for any of this. And I'm not actually doing any kind of advertising as of yet on this channel, so I'm not forcing you to do anything. And there are loads of really great astrologers that you might prefer to go to if that's how you feel. But I am doing this because I like doing this and I really enjoy to help out. And I really hope that this is of value to you. And for those of you that comment each month and say how valuable they are, I really, really appreciate you for that. Thank you so very much. That makes my day when I receive a comment. So thank you. Now, these are really designed to be looked at from the perspective of the ascendant, because when I create these charts, they are absolutely looking at it from the perspective of where all the planets are across the zodiac. And I set it as if you've got Aries ascendant or Taurus ascendant. So that's kind of how it's laid out. And if you were to transpose that over your chart and you've got an Aries ascendant, it's most likely going to fit your pattern. So the ascendant is the one that works the best. But I do recognize as I'm recording these that, when I record Sagittarius, it also fits for me as a sun sign. And I've received messages from people who listen to the ascendant, the sun, and the moon. One way I think of it is like the ascent. If you watch the one for your ascendant, that's like your real overview of how your life is looking. But when you're looking at it from the sun's perspective, you might get something more about your personality and your ego and what that's lining up for. And if you look at it from the moon's perspective, you might get something about the emotions and the psyche in this month ahead. So I hope that clears that up. I did actually have someone that listened to all of them, all of them where she had a planet in her chart, and she found she found it very useful. It's a very useful process for her. So use it as you want to, but it's really intended for the ascendant. Another question I got asked was, why are you using equal house? And the real reason that I'm using an equal house basis here is because it's going to fit the most amount of users who are doing their readings. Now, if you're really experienced in astrology and you transpose the images that I create onto your chart, like you imagine them in your head. I don't know how you process information. That's how I do it. It's all up here. But if you're really experienced, you'll know that the things I'm talking about, where they sit in your chart, and you can say, okay, well, in the equal house, that might be the fourth. In my chart, it's actually the third. And so you might then choose to listen to the next sign along, or the sign before, where that's slightly altered. But, you know, by using equal house, it matches things for more people. So that's the real reason why I'm doing it. I want this to be of help to as many people as possible. So if you do find this helpful and you think it might be helpful for other people, feel free to just like and subscribe and share it. You know, send it to someone that you think will really benefit from it. So anyway, that's my little whinge and sort of intro out of the way. All of this is itemized. So, you know, you can look at the chapters and see where Aries, Taurus, blah, 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 where it all is. And hopefully they'll all be evenly matched in time, but who knows? You know, if I feel some sign needs a bit more attention, I'll give them that attention. Now, if you don't know your ascendant, then this is the first thing to do. Best thing that you can do is go to astroseek.com. It's actually astro-seek.com. And then you go to the menu on the far left, which is free horoscopes, charts and calculations, and then down to where it says ascendant rising sign calculator. And all you need is your time, place and date of birth, and hit enter, and then it will tell you what your ascendant is. The last thing I just want to share with you is what I'm covering in every single one of these updates for every single sign of the zodiac. So the first thing is we've got the new moon in Sagittarius. It's on the 12th of December and it's at 20 degrees 40 in the sign of Sag. You've got the sun moving into Capricorn on the day of the solstice. And I'm also commenting on the full moon in Cancer. It's at 4:58 in the sign of Cancer on the 27th of December. And you'll see these are color coded. And so where the new moon is, that's here in the chart, where according to whichever star sign you are looking at, that yellow is going to represent the place of the new moon. I think most people get this, but I have had a few questions. That's why I'm explaining it. This sort of teal blue represents the whole space of where the sun is. And I am also going to be talking about the moment where it goes into Capricorn at the time of the solstice. This pink dot represents down here where the full moon is. And then I've got this area here in sort of like red. That's there to represent where Mercury is going retrograde from in Capricorn, and where it starts to go direct again on the 2nd of January, and it goes direct again in the sign of Sagittarius. Interestingly, it's going back to the position of the new moon, just about. And then finally, this last place here, this trine energy, is just to really show where there's something for you to complete on. Now, in the overall update for the month of December, I have spoken a bit about we've got the sun in a trine with Chiron, and then he's in a trine to the North Node. And then later on, the sun is in a trine to Jupiter. And Mars makes a trine to Chiron. And then we'll later make a trine to the North Node. But I really think that this trine energy from Sagittarius to the sign of Aries is really transforming. And Chiron is a great transformer. It's very much about healing us and helping us transform our energy through being vulnerable and through seeing, you know, where we might be insecure, but working on it. And Mars is there to help us get active on it. So I really see this area, not just for Mars and Chiron, but also for just the energy of the sun and Mars. You might have watched my Casimir video already. That's in the Mars playlist. So that's there. And then this star that comes up on the chart represents where your ruler of your chart is. And if you've got Aries ascendant, your ruler is Mars. It's in Sagittarius all month. So this is like a crib sheet, and every sign of the zodiac has one of these crib sheets, and you'll see these patterns keep moving sign by sign as I go through it. So that's essentially what I'm doing. Yeah. And the very last thing I just want to share with you before I get going, and that is, if you want the breakdown of all the movements of December, then look at the other video that I'm posting at the same time as this. That's my real sort of complete overview for December, week by week. And I'll be talking a little bit about the new moon and the full moon and the solstice. And those trines that I've just mentioned, and you'll see some images of those charts, but it's a week by week basis, not star sign by star sign, but week by week. So you get an even more comprehensive feel for this month ahead. So it's all in the December playlist for you. Anyway, let's start now and see what is forecasted for you in this month ahead. So if you saw me looking up there, it's because I'm looking up at a clock to make sure that I try and keep these even for people. Oh, people are so funny, aren't they? Bless them all. So for everyone who's an Aries ascendant or sun, I've put that in there. This one's for you. So in this month ahead, I think there's some really great energies lining up for you. So, you know, with the sun and Mars all in this ninth house, you've also got Mercury in the ninth house for a while. Later on, Venus comes into this area. The ninth house is where it's all at, really, in December, where it starts and where some of it's completing. The ninth house, from an Aries perspective, is really great. You know, it's the place where we're having an adventure, where we're starting to think at a much greater scale. You know, our life takes on so much more meaning. The search of meaning is so vital for us at that time. This is a place for us to expand and to want to have fun, want to be lighthearted. We don't want to be down in the dumps. We don't want to be glum. We don't want to be miserable. We want to be changed and transformed. And actually, we want to be free to do it. We don't want people doing it to us. We want to be driving, in the seat of our own car. So I really, really appreciate the ninth house energy. It really gets us moving. It's a perfect energy for a trip away. It's a perfect energy for some kind of night school or course or retreat or anything that causes us to elevate and expand in the month ahead. You know, it's really great. Now, it does also touch on things like our political views, our religious views, our spiritual views, our legal views, you know, our views on life in general, not the life that we live on a day-to-day basis, but that life that we see maybe on a TV screen or that we read about on Twitter or in a newspaper or something like that. You know, it's that external world and our understanding of it and how that fits in with our world. So what I notice a lot for people with a very strong Aries in this month ahead is that you're developing a lot internally, and you're really sort of experiencing the world through what's not in your world or what is appearing sort of far away from you. And that the overall cry at the moment is to get out into the world and see if what you think is happening is actually happening. You know, it's really pulling you into the direct experience of things that you have yet to understand. So I really love this energy a lot. Now, your ruling planet, Mars, is in Sagittarius all month as well. And when Mars is in there, he feels very sort of gung-ho, very sort of politically charged, very much like Mars in the sign of Sagittarius is very much somebody who campaigns for people and stands for people and this, that, and the other. So one thing I would advise is not to take it too seriously, not because things aren't real, not for that reason at all, but just for the reason of your own joy and your own feelings of positivity. It's fine to stand up and to know where you sit in terms of values and morals and all that jazz. Absolutely fine to do that, and you probably will feel quite motivated to take action in different ways. And I would also advise you at this time to take action for your joy too. So don't become a one-trick pony that is just about values and ideas and opinions right now, because what's going on here can really heal you in the body, can really heal you in your identity. There's a much bigger healing process going on. And actually that healing process is not just about healing, it's about finding your legacy and finding your direction. I mean, that's where the North Node is right now. So all of this is really lining up to inform you where you want to be in the world, in your life. So yeah, I think this is an interesting time for you. A really interesting time for you. And the new moon that's happening on the 12th in the sign of Sagittarius is just really bringing in this feeling that actually what's happened to you in the last few years as Chiron's been going through your first house, you've probably taken on quite a lot of insecurity around who you are and what your personal brand is like. How do people know you? What's your identity? And so actually this new moon is giving you the opportunity to get some freedom around who you think you are. Dare I say, you might actually know who you are right now and not have those questions. So this feels really inspired and really great. Now, as the month progresses, we do have this moment where the sun moves into the sign of Capricorn, marking the start of the winter. We get the winter solstice. Of course, it's the summer solstice if you're in the southern hemisphere. This is very much in the northern hemisphere, but essentially the sun is going into the sign of Capricorn. Now, from an Aries perspective, this is shifting your focus from joy and expansion, and it's moving your focus into the realm of how you stand in the world and what's your legacy, what's your destiny, where are you in that? So if you think about the progression there that's happened over the course of the month, what's happened is you've expanded and learnt loads about who you are. And now at the end of the month, you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to take all that information and make it real about me. That's going to be added into my legacy. That's going to be added into my sense of who, like what my destiny is and where I'm heading. So this is all informing you. It's all part of the process. And this is what I like about the whole idea of the wheel of the zodiac. And whilst I'm not, that fussed about the star signs per se, I do love the fact that there is this progression from one place to another, to another, to another, and how the story is always evolving and representing our ongoing story in life. So this is quite an important point, because the new season is bringing you into the place of your career. And then later on down the line, towards the end of January, you're being pulled into more of into a time of greater sharing and networking, which has obviously led on from your new sort of found direction in terms of your career. And then finally it all gets integrated and then sort of reborn, as you start the next season. So this feels like quite a strong month. It's sending you into a whole new direction in terms of your career and the actions that you're going to take on it. Now, on the 27th, with the full moon in Cancer, this is really bringing up a tension between home and away. It really is bringing up the tension from how you were raised, possibly, the tension between parents, and the idea of, what does home represent and what does away or work or career or destiny represent? How do they link together? How do they work together? Are they smooth? Are they in a great balance at the time of the full moon? Now, what is great is actually we've got Saturn here where my cursor is right now. And that is there to really support all aspects of this full moon. So I don't think with this full moon, you're doing it alone. You have got support. And whatever comes up at the time of the full moon, it's really there to remind you where you've come from and where you're going to, but also to have compassion for yourself at the start of the journey, like what, earlier on in your childhood, to have compassion for where you might end up, like for instance, if you imagine where your career might take you and how you might end your days, again, you might need some compassion. I think this full moon is actually quite kind. It's there to remind us that we are part of an overall flow. And we can't ignore the overall flow. When we ignore the overall flow, we really lose the point of things. So anyway, this is a very transforming month and a very opening month. And And I like it. I think it gets you going so that as you do go into 2024, you're raring to go. So anyway, Aries, I hope that was helpful for you. So let's now have a look at Taurus. I just need to rearrange things a little bit. This chair's not very comfortable. It's not a very wise thing, is it, to have a chair that's not very comfortable as you're about to sit down for an hour? Never mind. Right, Taurus, where should we start? Okay, so for you Taurians, or people with Taurus ascendant, this is a month ahead, I think, that is really emphasizing some of the undercurrents that are going on in your life, some of the unspoken undercurrents that have been playing a role, have been playing a part, but you haven't maybe articulated them all yet. It's all slightly mysterious, I would say. So I want to start really, first of all, on things that you might be taking action on, because we've got Chiron here in your 12th house, and let's face it, it's been here since 2017. And most likely it has been creating a little bit of discomfort. The 12th house is a place where we prefer to ignore what's going on in our psyche. We don't like to shine a light on it too much. But Chiron in there has really forced us to look at all those aspects of our childhood and our insecurities and things like that. And in this month ahead, with the sun making a trine to Chiron first, then Mars making a trine to Chiron, just as the sun is making a trine to the North Node. The energy is really from the 8th house to the 12th. And the 8th house here, where everything is really emphasized in this month ahead, it's about transformation. It's about our stories. It's about the story of our life that we're holding on to. I mean, if you think about it, it represents all things to do with being born, like every life stage that we go through, from birth to being a baby, to being a toddler, to walking, to being a child, to being pubescent. Everything is a rite of passage. We go through all these changes and transformations all the time. And in this month ahead, Taurus, what you are learning is more about the stage you're at, also what you've recently said goodbye to, and also where you are going to be heading. And so it's encouraging you to let go of, shame, blame, guilt, anger, regret, bitterness, and all those sort of negative feelings that can really damp us down. And maybe letting go is a strong thing to say. Maybe you don't need to let go, but it's encouraging you to at least examine the effects of those emotions that we have, and how they affect our performance, how they affect our certainty and our feelings of security in life. So it's definitely worth a bit of a look. And so as the sun is moving here over this month ahead from 8 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius to 9 degrees in the sign of Capricorn by the end of the month, the emphasis is really on how are you changing? How have you transformed? And you might want to think, okay, how have I transformed over the course of this whole year? It's been pretty intense, right? And yet here you are, you're still standing. And so what are you letting go of, and what are you getting ready to welcome? Now, the new moon is going to be quite helpful in this, on the 12th. It's going to be at 20 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. It's really encouraging you to rethink your inner psychology. It's giving you the impetus to have some confidence and to maybe forgive, maybe to let yourself go, maybe to just kind of breathe and honor all of your past experiences, and feel excited about moving forwards. At the time, I mean, if you think of it, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and so you've got the new moon, you've got the sun, the moon, and Mars, all in a Jupiter ruled sign. This new moon is about you feeling good. It's not about feeling bad. It's about how you can expand and how you can feel the joy of life and the joy of the changes you've been through. I should also say it could be quite a good time to apply for a loan or some kind of financial tool, because the 8th house also does look at other people's money. So, if you've got a partner, or if you've got family and stuff, you may well find that you borrow from them, or that there's a gift that is quite helpful to you. So all of that stuff happens as well naturally in that place. But the opportunity here really is for you to evolve, and that these changes are really taking place in your 12th house. Now, the chances are, Taurus ascendant, that you've probably over the last few years not felt that not felt very confident, with Chiron going through here. And then with Uranus going through your first house like it has for such a flipping long time, and now Jupiter, anywhere where you're not sure about yourself is really emphasized in your body, and in your persona. Uranus in your first house is very un-Taurus like. Let's face it, Uranus is always showing us how we can be more spontaneous and how we can make these great big changes, all things that the sort of Taurus energy doesn't really like. And then Jupiter comes in, and yes, Jupiter does love a bit of comfort, and Taurus is definitely a comfortable sign. But Jupiter comes in and it really expands on everything. So I think the more you can work to really let go of any judgments about yourself that you're harboring in the dark recesses of your mind, the better off you'll be. So you can actually enjoy having Jupiter in your first house until it moves into Gemini next May. So yeah, this is an opportunity really, as far as I can see it. Now, Mercury is going to be going retrograde on the 13th, literally just after the new moon. And it's going retrograde from 8 degrees Capricorn, which is a fellow earth sign, and back into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, it's interesting because the 9th is about our belief systems, about our philosophies, our religion, our spirituality, our expansion, what we're learning, what we really need to understand at a greater context. Also, some of our biggest adventures and our biggest dreams. It's a real sort of like dreamy, adventurous, and quite sometimes chaotic place to be, the 9th house. But you've got Mercury going retrograde from there back into the 8th. And to me, some of your answers in letting go of any old stresses and strains to do with your gradually transforming body and growing older and going through all these important life stages. I actually think some of the wisdom that you might need to be able to work through this is coming from your sense of adventure and your sense of spiritual growth. So hopefully, actually, Mercury retrograde is going to help you rewire some of your thinking. And it's really going to encourage you to, when you can't quite understand why something has happened in the way it has, you might choose to think, okay, well, I do know that I've got this burning desire to live big. I do know that I want more adventure. I do know this, because I think when we've got unexpressed desires, they play out in our life anyway. If we've got this unexpressed desire to travel and experience different cultures and to have a job in another country, or to study something really like highbrow and really challenge ourselves, when we've got these potentials that exist inside us, but we're not making any changes on them, they will get picked up in your 8th house. And you might find that people come in to give you some trouble, that sort of give you just the situations you need to make that final push, to have that final push to make that change. So this could be quite an interesting month. Now, the full moon that's taking place on the 27th is really activating the place of what you do know, and also really encouraging you to focus on what you don't yet know but would love to know. And so as these oppositions go, this is not so bad, I have to say. The 3rd and 9th house, they both have a lot to do with what we know and where we feel a sense of belonging. In like the 3rd house very much is about where we belong, and the people we chat with and the people we interact with. It's all those interactions. It's like our early learning, our A, B's and C's, our numbers, our 1, 2s and 3s. It's what do we know about our life that we absolutely get that sense of belonging from? And then what are we really excited about that we don't yet know, that when we do know is going to transform us possibly away from this area, but it's still very much needed. So yeah, this full moon, if it's bringing up problems for you, it's coming up because there is this need to expand, and that expansion might take you away from the comfort that you enjoy from your community, from your loved ones, from everything that you know. And yet, if you imagine that you do expand, imagine what that could do. Imagine the gifts you could bring back into your community. So, yeah, there's lots going on. Last thing that I really want to focus on is just, your ruling planet is Venus. And in this month ahead, Venus goes from Libra into the sign of Scorpio, where she is mainly, and then into the sign of Sagittarius. So Venus is very un-Venus-like in this month ahead. So you may not feel quite like yourself, and you might be a lot more intense than usual. And to be fair, that's what I've really hinted at here. This is quite an intense month, highlighting all these old secrets about yourself and also your unconscious mind. So it's interesting that your ruler is also matching that as well. So my last final thought for you, Taurus, is go easy on yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time. Anyway, have a great month ahead, and I hope to catch you in January. Lots of love. Okay, so let's have a look now at Gemini. So Gemini then, what have we got going on? So as we go into December, yeah, there's some big changes going on. And the big changes that you could really complete on, I think, are coming from how much you're prepared to give in your relationships, and how much impact your personal relationships have, as opposed to your kind of casual networked relationships. I think there's a lot to transform here and a lot to understand. So, for instance, for most of the month, you've got the sun going through this area, you've got Mercury going through this area, you've later got Venus coming into this area, and Mars is here all month. Okay. So this area of your chart is all about your personal relationships. Now that could be your partner, but it could also be your family, and it could be your friends. It could also be the people you really don't like. And I always think the seventh house is about projections, because when you think about people who are not, like, the first house here is everything that is you. And then the seventh house here is everything that's not you. And so this month ahead is everything that's not you. So you've got your Mars there. So your energy is very much focused on things that don't appear to be like you. So you might be noticing the activities of the people around you and how much energy is being put into them. You might notice that you're putting a lot more energy into your partner's activities and not your own. You might also find that a lot of your care and attention and a lot of your sparkle is really being given away, almost like bled away and given to your partners. And it's not necessarily coming back to you. You might even find that your partners seem to be having this amazing, glowing time where everything's going really well for them, and you're feeling a bit left out. So this is a time where it's important for you to remember how important you are. Now, here's how the projection really comes in. So what you're noticing about these other people, these people in your life and the experiences that they're going through, what you notice about other people is usually what you can't accept is happening in yourself. Now, I'm not here to say why that might be happening, because you'll know why you might not be able to see that you're doing really well right now. And instead you're projecting onto everyone in your life. But it just seems like everyone else is doing a bit better. Everyone else is progressing. Everyone else is shining a bit brighter. And so the big question for you, Gemini ascendant, in this month ahead is, where am I letting my shine go? Where is my sparkle going? Why am I not lighting myself up? Why can't I see my light right now? And the truth is, everyone else will still see it in you. It's just you're not accepting it in yourself. So if there's one thing that you could take action on right now and do right from the start of December, is to start focusing on your inner light. Now, I don't know what process you might use to do that. And there are so many different practices that, you could use to absolutely make yourself shine and really feel like you are absolutely shining in life. And connecting in life. And like, you might be thinking that all of your partners and friends are more connected than you are and you're left out, which for a Gemini would be really upsetting. But what you might ask yourself is, why do I feel like other people are doing it for me? Why do I feel like other people are taking it from me? Now, I don't think people are actually taking it from you, but it just might seem like that. So what you need to do, if you want my opinion, what I might do if I was in your position right now, is I would start to create some social contacts. So I might invite some people over, and bear in mind that it's a time of Christmas, and people might not be able to meet your sudden invitation, but just put a couple of things out there. Don't put people on a test. Don't set them up for something that they're going to fail at, which is absolutely the kind of thing that people do when there's this sort of opposition sort of energy. Like right now, there's so much energy over here opposite to where you really are coming from. So don't set them up to fail, but do give them an opportunity to connect with you. What you're probably doing right now is just not connecting or not giving people the chance. You might be just going off doing things on your own. And because you do things on your own quite well, people aren't really considering that you might want company. So let people know, be vulnerable. Don't be a mystery to everybody. Allow people to help you and allow people to join with you. And welcome it. And that's, I think, one of the big opportunities at the time of the new moon, is to connect more with your partners. Allow yourself to feel vulnerable. Allow yourself to say, actually, I feel like I need you right now. I really appreciate you. I'm glad you're in my life. And know that when you're actually saying that, you're saying it to yourself, like it's all a mirror. So, the more you love yourself, the more you can value yourself and tell that to yourself, the more you're strengthening your relationships, and you'll feel much better for it. So that's a really big opportunity for you around the time of the new moon. And then the next day, Mercury, which is your ruler, as you probably know, is going into not opposition, it's going retrograde. So by this point, Mercury's already going to be in the 8th house. He's not that comfortable there, to be fair. He gets quite intense in the 8th house, but he's going retrograde back towards this point of the new moon, back into the 7th house. So there's something about you that hasn't really been communicated enough. Something about how you are with your friends that maybe you didn't clear up, or that something that they did that didn't get cleared up. Something about the way you're organizing things with the people in your life that it's just not quite making sense at the moment. And so as Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th, you're likely to feel really quite intense. And so what I would say is, if you are getting into any sort of discussions, be really mindful that you are more intense than other people right now, and you're more out of sorts than other people right now. And you've just had, like earlier on, literally just at the end of November, you had the full moon in your own sign in the area of your identity. So you've already taken a bit of a knock, and that's actually what's really, putting you on this path right now. So just be mindful of the intensity. Don't, try and be a bit mild in your approach if you can be. But just know that as Mercury is going retrograde, you've got something to clear up. And as you clear up, it will be like when Mercury moves back into the sign of Capricorn, which is later in the month in January, you'll really start to feel more like yourself, but actually like you can move on to another stage in your life. So actually, if I, like, as I'm looking at this now, I'm really seeing that this month ahead, it's all the little like bits and pieces that are going on. They're going on really to help you move into the next phase of your life. They're going on, they're moving, they're arranging. It's like you're ready to mature to another stage. And so just see this as part of the natural flow of life, and you'll be fine. You really will be. Now, at the end of the month, around the 27th, there's going to be the full moon in the sign of Cancer. And, at that point, you might start to worry about your spending, and start to consider things from a position of values and inner value systems. I really think the second house isn't about money. I think it's about your earning potential and your resources, but it's really about how you feel about yourself. How much are you prepared to receive? Are you a good receiver? if somebody pays you a compliment, do you receive it? If someone wants to pay you and you work for yourself, do you receive it? Or do you say, oh, no, it's okay, let me do this because it's for a friend or something? How happy are you to receive? Because this is going to be one of your challenges as the month ends, is how can you get into receivership and know that you are taking up the real amount of space that you need right now. And so I think all of this month will work its way out. The great news is all of this is also reminding you that, yes, you've got all these friends here and loved ones, and yet you're actually part of a much bigger ecosystem, a much bigger ecosystem. And really, as you sort this out, you're going to be brought into much more networking, much more support. So it's almost like as you support yourself, and then because you're supporting yourself, it then assists you with your relationships. As your relationships are sorted, it feels like there's a much bigger healing with you in the world. It feels like you're able to connect and communicate with people at a much deeper level, with much more influence and with a much more collaborative feel. So I see this as being a really amazing month ahead. But as with all of the opposite signs, we often feel quite out of sorts as we are going through these opposite months for us. So anyway, go easy with yourself, Gemini. It will all sort itself out, and this is a really critical time and a time of transformation for you. So I hope that's helpful. Have a great month ahead and catch you in the new year. Bye for now. So on to Cancer then. What's coming up for Cancer this month? Well, the first thing I want to zone in on, and it's a big one because you've got your full moon in Cancer right at the end of the month. So what I want to do with this reading is talk back, almost like, this is where we're ending up the month with a full moon in Cancer, but what's leading us there? What's the bigger story around it? That's the thing that I'm excited about. And because your ruling planet is the moon, it's really important to pay attention to all the phases, because your ruling planet is all over the place. That's why I didn't put a star all the way around. I just put him right in the middle, because the moon, your ruler, is just always somewhere reacting to a different planet. It's always moving around and creating contrast somehow. So yeah, it's an interesting time. Now, the other thing that I think is quite important to focus on is the solstice that's coming up. And that's coming up at the end of the month. So both of these things are towards the end of December. So, the winter solstice is on the 22nd of December, and it represents when the sun goes just literally crosses into the 7th house. And this is a really important angle for you. This is a really important moment for you as the sun goes into the sign of Capricorn, because it is absolutely emphasizing everything to do with everything that's not you. It's about like this full moon is saying, hey, everyone, look at me. Don't forget about me. I'm really important. Don't forget about me. And I'm feeling a bit emotional now. Don't forget about me. I'm so important. And yet just before it, it feels like the energy is moving away and it feels like everyone is ignoring you. So this is a very big sort of energy. So let's take a step back. So as you're starting December, you'd have just experienced the full moon in Gemini on the 27th. I'm actually recording this on the 28th. So the full moon was yesterday. And it was occurring in this part of your chart, which is about all the things you're really vulnerable about and feel a little bit challenged by, and you try and keep secret, and you might not even be fully aware of. And so you might find around, I don't know how you experienced it, but around the time of the full moon in Gemini, it probably activated all sorts of intuition, dream work, meditation, and lots of symbols and signs and things like that come up around that time when we experience a full moon in this part of our chart. It's usually really quite strong. And it often creates a bit of discomfort for us because it's not a place we like to, rest in too much. Because it at some level it's showing us the true nature of things, the true nature of the things we like to avoid. It's a little bit of shadow work a lot of shadow work goes on here. And so as you're going into December, is with this kind of shadow work behind you. It's, you're going into December feeling a little bit disheveled, most likely. Now, one of the great things about this is where the sun is as you're going into December is actually working through the sixth house area. And Mars is here all month. Venus pops in at the end. She's here in the fifth house, which is actually quite good for you this month. And Mercury starts in Sagittarius, goes to Capricorn, and then moves and then comes all the way back in. So he goes retrograde on the 13th and then comes back in. So there's a lot of energy around here. Now, the other thing that's going on is that there's a lot of energy from the Sun and Mars going up to Chiron and then later to the North Node. And so these trines I see as being healing. So it starts off, and I haven't listed it here, but the Sun is in a trine to Chiron. And then a few days later, Mars is in a trine to Chiron. So there's this healing energy. There's something that needs to be healed from here, the sixth house, which is about our health, our day-to-day, how we manage our life. Are we meticulous with it? Do we care about it? Are we a little bit too flippant? Where do we need to control things a bit more? Where do we need to be a bit more standard? Where do we fit in with our own narrative? How does the way we live our life match up to everybody else's expectations? There's a lot going on here. And it appears that we can heal our relationship with our life and how we want to be in the world. So how we aspire to be when we're grown-ups. I'm assuming everyone watching this already identifies as a grown-up, but who knows? Probably get loads of comments about that underneath. I'm not grown up. But anyway, the 10th house is about where we go, where we're moving in life, where we end up in many respects. It's like the pinnacle of where we're heading. It's like our destiny, our legacy. How do we want to leave this place? Do we want to leave it better for us having been here? And so all of this stuff is related. Because yes, we can achieve a lot in our lives, but we probably need quite a good grounding for that to happen. And where we don't have a good grounding for it, we're definitely not going to achieve much in our lives, most likely, or any results that we have are likely to be quite haphazard. And so this is a really great opportunity because these trines, the Sun and then Mars to Chiron, it's really showing us what action needs to take place. What do we need to change in how we've organized our life right now? So whatever change is coming up is really helping us reach our goals. So don't ignore any whispers that come up for you. If you're aware of things you want to change in the way you are organizing your life, or maybe your diet and how much you exercise, or your attitudes to health and healing and stuff like that. If you've got some great goals, then now is the time to really stick to them. I know it's a funny time because it's a time when most people go out and get wasted and go to parties and eat rich and sumptuous food, and then we slump and do nothing. I mean, it's quite a strange time culturally, isn't it? But it's actually a time to pull up your socks and get on with it. You'll feel so much better if you're able to really start working in quite a formulaic way, but know that it's really going to take you to the place that you want to be. That's the real gift of it. And this new moon in Sagittarius on the 12th is going to help you do that. It's really going to help you do that. And then the next day when Mercury goes retrograde, it's showing you all the things you need to change, because the moment you set off on that journey, you realize, oh, well, I haven't got that belief set up properly, and that's not right, and that's not right. So you might find that as you're setting sail for these new great goals, that you actually realize you don't have everything you need. But rather than give up with this Mercury retrograde, what I think it's doing is saying, don't give up. All you need to do is review it, and this is what you need, and just see it as information. Don't see it as like you're bad or you're not ever going to do anything, you're not going to achieve anything. Just see it as a checklist and go do it. And I really, really do feel like if you've got any hang-ups about success and hang-ups about achievement and things like that, this Mercury retrograde and these trines to up here, they're really going to help sort you out. So I'm very excited about that. I really am. And of course, how that fits in is at the end of the month, you're now putting yourself first, which is why you might be in this place of saying, hey, what about me? What about me? Look at me. But that's fine, because actually this journey has started with a little bit of indecision, a little bit of not feeling that great. It's then come to you finding your own solution and setting sail on a new trajectory. And it's just reminding you that you need to put yourself first and you need to put yourself back in your own equation. So there you go, Cancer Ascendant. I hope this month ahead is really helpful to you, and look forward to catching up with you again in the new year. Lots of love. Bye for now. So let's have a look at Leo Ascendant then. So this is, I think, quite a colourful and creative and helpful month for you. And I also recognize that you need to probably take some proactive action to make sure that as you go right to the end of the year, that you're not feeling exhausted and worn out, and that you don't equate the fact that you're feeling exhausted and worn out. You don't equate that with the fact that you're rubbish in some way. Okay. Because you know what it's like when you're tired and you've got run down. Most people tend to take all news as bad news. So for instance, like you feel bad, but you're fairly buoyant in life, you're likely to say, okay, I just need to rest up today. But if you've really got yourself run down and then something goes wrong, you're likely to say to yourself, oh my God, you're such a failure. So what I'm suggesting here is how you can navigate the whole of December energies, so that at the end, when you probably have worn yourself out, you remember, there's something Louisa said, and that was, I would be feeling like this. Now is the time for me to actually put my feet up, to relax, to give myself a massive break, and to absolutely just love the life that you're in. Now, let me backtrack. So I'm recording this on the 28th of November, but yesterday you had the full moon in the sign of Gemini, and it was activating this area of your chart here, which is all about all of your great benevolent ideas that you want to interact and collaborate with other people, and all the joys and woes of interaction and collaborating, because it doesn't always go well, does it? Sometimes people let you down, or you let yourself down. There's all sorts of different things that play into this, right? And it's a time when you've overextended yourself. So if you see here, like there's all this energy here in this place of creation, and you're really in a creative vibe right now. That's great. Don't stop that. But, yesterday you kind of came out yourself and realized sometimes why collaborating with others can be a real pain in the butt. Sometimes it is easier if you do it yourself. And of course, when you are creating something, anything, at some point it does reach other people. At some point you do have to let your creations be fully birthed. Otherwise, it's like keeping something in the birth canal. It doesn't move. You have to, everything grows, everything moves, everything, grows too big in one space, and then it needs to be birthed and released. And that's when other people get involved. So what I see is going on for you at the moment, Leo Ascendant, is that you've got a birthing issue. Probably not a real birthing issue, but like a creative birthing issue. And so yesterday's full moon would have really shown you just how unreliable and how difficult it is to be collaborating with others. Now, that might have seemed true yesterday. I assure you it's not true. However, in that moment, you probably thought, I don't know why I bother. People are rubbish. And why do I want to save the world anyway? Why do I want to have this big vision where I create with everyone? What's the point of that, eh? So it's a kind of funny place. And then as you're starting December and you're in this really creative place, all of your energies are actually coming into this point of, you know what? I've been collaborating a lot recently, because obviously you're a Leo, like Leo Ascendant. There's a lot of, I want to be in the center of things. So it often does result in collaborations. But, in this month ahead, this is a place of enjoying your creations. It's a place of romancing yourself about your ideas, about how your creations might move forwards, how they might expand, and the joy it's going to bring you. Like the fifth house is actually the house that's associated with Leo. You know, it is about joy, and it is about innocence, and it is about making love and starting all these things that are going to feel good in your body. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, this is a great time. And what I like about this, and what I see as a resolution for you in terms of how can you create, while not necessarily having to put it into the hands of other people that might ruin it, or pee on your chips or something. What I actually see is the healing is taking place, that you're being creative, and you're enjoying the satisfaction of creating. And there's this shift. There's something to shift your creations and take them to the next level. And that is, I think, awareness. Like the ninth house here, where Chiron is, where the North Node currently is, it's showing you that your real attention, your real awareness is wanting you to come out of everything that you know to be true and go into somewhere where you don't know the context of it. It's wanting you to have a big adventure. It's wanting you to think bigger. It's wanting you to learn more, maybe pick up a book and read about the things you're creating, but don't let somebody else's words put you back in a box, but allow the words of people to inspire you. So in this month ahead, while you're creating, you also want to do as much learning and being inspired as you possibly can. So, you know, if you haven't already got a podcast list of people you love to learn from, now's the time to get it. Or if there's somebody that you've thought about as a coach or mentor, call them up, book an appointment. Like right now, you just want to be inspired and take that inspiration into yourself, so that what you want to create is going to come out. And the 12th of December is perfect for this. You know, it's allowing you to come up with some great ideas, and to take some really bold steps forward that will allow you to play and have fun and create something really quite magnificent. And then here's the great thing is, like the next day after the new moon, Mercury, which by this point is in the sign of Capricorn, you know, in the sixth house, where he can be a bit boring. And, you know, Mercury's quite happy in the sixth house. You know, he's like, right, you need to do this, 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 this. And it gets really, really busy. But, you know, from the 13th, Mercury's coming back and actually saying, hang on a sec, something I forgot about creativity. And Mercury is actually coming back. And I think he's going to give you a chance to have a great idea. You know, there's this Mercury Casimir moment in the month of Sagittarius, in the month of December. And, you know, as Mercury comes back, you're being reminded of some earlier genius. You're being reminded of some of your best ideas. There is this opportunity I really see for, like a really deep inspiration to occur. So I see this as being brilliant. Now, your ruling planet, which is the sun, is going to be changing into the sign of Capricorn, and that's going to be starting the new season. So this is an important time for you. So don't discount it. You know, this is a pretty important time, and all of the importance is about your creativity. And at the end of the month, on the 27th, there's a full moon in Cancer. Now, if you're not completely exhausted by doing so much and dreaming so much, then use the energy of the full moon to connect into your instincts, your intuition, your dreams. Allow symbols and colors and ideas and feelings to permeate. The benefit of this is it could inspire what you are creating right now. But if you're not prepared to use that energy, what could happen is that as the full moon approaches, you start to feel insecure, and you're so awash with the psychic energy of the full moon in your 12th house that you start to go inward and feel like over emotional and like you need to kind of sleep. You're overwhelmed. So coming into, you know, from Christmas, coming into the full moon, think about what you're achieving, think about what you're excited about, and then put a couple of questions there, hang them as if you're hanging something on a Christmas tree. Ask yourself something like, what ideas and possibilities have I not considered yet that would make my creations work? Or how can I bring my creativity back into the world and collaborate in such a way that's going to bring me joy? And ask these really big open questions, and then just leave them, and just know that around the time of the full moon, that full moon is going to give you what you need, and it's not the full moon, it's just you giving it to yourself, but you're programming your unconscious mind to work with you. So anyway, Leo ascendant, you got so many big things going on right now, and I really honor your creative spirit. Have a fantastic month ahead, and catch you in the new year. Lots of love. So let's have a look now at Virgo ascendant. What I really notice about this is that this new month ahead is likely to touch on some quite raw things. Anyone with a Virgo ascendant is probably more than aware that Chiron's been going through the 8th house for quite a long time. And the 8th house is a place that makes us grow. We can't really ignore that. It's really important that we accept that, we are going through this very deep change time, this big change process. And most likely stuff from the past, like the deep psychological wounds from the past, are really picking up the flavor of Chiron in your 8th house, So blame, shame, guilt, anger, all that stuff really comes to the fore. Now, what's really lovely about this month is this lovely set of trines. Now, I've written here that it's Mars trine Chiron, but actually in December, the first trine to Chiron is coming from the Sun, or maybe even Mercury, actually, because Mercury will trine Chiron, but then the Sun trines Chiron, and then finally Mars is trining Chiron, just as the Sun is trining the North Node. So there's this real sort of feeling that this energy here can get resolved. Whatever it is that you've been battling with, whatever childhood wounding has followed you, whatever theme just keeps coming up again and again and again. What is that theme that never resolves? Like your Achilles heel, and it just comes up again and again and again. And each time it comes up, you're just like, damn, I thought I'd done that. And then comes that feeling of, it's with me forever. Like, it's like, oh, hello, old friend, here you are again. So I see these trines to Chiron, and then later the trines to the North Node, as giving you a help up. Now, where do these trines start? They're starting in the 4th house. So first thing to recognize, Virgo, whether you want it or not, you are so much better off spending Christmas and a lot of December at home. That's where a lot of the energy is. It's at home. It's a time of intimacy for you. It's a time when you absolutely want to be safe in your little cave. It's like you are a bear and you're going into hibernation. This is your time to hibernate. This is your time to get cozy, to, put some thick winter socks on and have a fleece blanket nearby, and, just really look after yourself. But the feeling of being at home and that feeling of belonging at home is really critical for resolving this. So, the first thing to do is get familiar and comfortable at home, and set that up so everything is just working from that position. And you might choose to work at home if you can, or you might choose to create a little sanctuary for yourself if that's what's important. But whatever you need to do, this is your time to do it, because December's the time to really get cozy. Now, from that place of coziness, I think it's creating a resource state. It's B, reminding you that the only person that can give to us is you. And so as you realize you're giving to yourself, and actually that it's easier than you think, that in and of itself is communicating to you that you're ready to receive a much easier life. You're ready for some resolution. You're not really in it for the struggle anymore. Because a lot of us are. A lot of us still kind of relish the struggle, because we end up staying in it, and we are almost addicted to it. We've written our stories about ourselves so tightly that we don't really give ourselves the option to move into a new story. So yeah, that inward stuff feels really important. Now, here's another idea. Given that I've just mentioned stories, is this would be a really good time for you to start journaling or start reading things about um, belonging and like feeling comfortable at home, and see what comes up, and start journaling them, or watch a ton of movies that have been on the back of your mind about belonging, about people's journeys and what they've been learning, etc., etc. All of this is here to help break you open and to access this healing Chiron energy in the eighth, and also the North Node in the eighth. It's all here to assist you. Now, the new moon is really helpful. And might I just also say, you might not have the luxury of being able to carve yourself that lovely time that I've described. Lord knows, if you're busy with families, or if you happen to live with a family that you don't like, or if you're living with someone you don't love, and there's all sorts of different situations that come up where you might not be able to get that sense of comfort. In which case, I really recommend that you take just one day. You find one day, get babysitters if you have to, or book into a hotel for a night. Just carve yourself a moment of peace if you can, and see it as a luxury. And if you've got uncooperative components around you at home, then it might also be that this healing energy is needing you to be in a bit of discord for you to be able to resolve the things that are coming up. But it all starts at the home. Now, so the 12th, which is the day of the new moon, it's there to help you. It's there to give you that sense of healing. It's there to set you on a new path with your relationship at home, and with the feeling that you're able to move on in the world. The eighth house here is you're like stuck in a period of your life. You're not able to move beyond a particular time. It's like, did you make it through puberty? Is this still a problem from childhood? Which period are you stuck in? But this whole thing is here. This whole period of December is here to move you on. Now, the day after the new moon, Mercury goes retrograde from the fifth house, where he's being creative and coming up with lots of new ideas for you. And you're quite enjoying Mercury's energy in the sign of Capricorn, because it's earthy. You love the earth. And it's helping you think of practical ideas, and also to get really clear about what you love doing. So I think Mercury going retrograde, coming back towards this new moon position, is actually going to be helpful. Mercury is your friend here. He's your ruling planet as well. So he is absolutely coming back here to remind you that, you might just need to shift some of your beliefs, and you might also need to start some new habits, i.e., like Mercury coming from the fifth. There might be some beautiful new things that you'd forgotten about that you really love doing, but Mercury is here with a message for you to help you with this healing process. And when Mercury goes direct again, moves out of this area, you will start to feel much better. So this is all just part of an ongoing process. Last thing then, on the 27th, there's the full moon. And so like the sun is here in Capricorn and the moon is here in Cancer. I actually think this full moon's quite beneficial, because this full moon, although full moons are sort of pulling apart and showing us the polarity, we've got Saturn here that is really supporting both sides. It's helping us to understand the young and the old, the traditional and the new, and all those different polarities. So really what I see coming in is this energy of longevity, an energy of persistence, an energy of patience and determination. Whatever's going on, you will be able to get to the bottom of it. I just really feel like the more you can focus on what brings you belonging in particular will be the key to resolving this. So anyway, Virgo ascendant, hats off to you. You got a lot on your plate, but look, sending you lots and lots of love. And looking forward to talking to you in the new year. Bye for now. So on to Libra ascendant then. So how are you doing? So let's have a look at how December is likely to show up for you. So the way I want to approach this, I think, is to talk more about Chiron and it's positioned in your 7th house. It's been there for a hell of a long time, since 2017. And, Chiron is there to really teach us about our relationships. And very recently, obviously, we've got the North Node now in the sign of Aries. And it feels like now is the time for us to get our emotional relationship insecurities under control. So Chiron going through this area has really shown us just how vulnerable we are in terms of how we relate to our partners and our friends, and also to people that come into our life and don't appear to be there to do nice things. It's really shown us our vulnerabilities. Now, in this month ahead, the new moon in Sagittarius, and also the series of trines. So I'm emphasizing down here the Mars trine Chiron. That's what I've put in here. But actually, we've got the Sun in a trine to Chiron from your 3rd house, followed by Mars in a trine to Chiron from the 3rd house, again in the sign of Sagittarius. And at the same time, the Sun is in a trine to the North Node. This is absolutely helpful, healing energy that we can actually take action on and clear up a lot of the mess, and clear up some of the insecurities, and clear up some of the vulnerabilities and secrets that we've kept from the people that we love the most. That could really, really help resolve some kind of internal battle. Now, obviously, with all opposition energy, and that's what Chiron is doing really to your ascendant, as Chiron's in your 7th house, it's really opposing the whole idea of your identity, how you see yourself and how you believe yourself to be. So, whatever this wounding is, I think is most likely something that you're not really happy to see in yourself. So whatever you're projecting onto your partners, it's likely to be a pattern that you have yourself, and something that if you could only give yourself the gift of forgiveness over, you could sort of integrate some of those energies. And this is the really fantastic thing about this energy here, with the Sun and Mars in a trine to Chiron and the North Node. You're facilitating in this month ahead these really great conversations where it's finally time for you to really share how you feel, what makes you feel vulnerable in that particular relationship. And if you think about it, you might realize that what's making you feel vulnerable is that sense of, yeah, maybe it's actually going on inside you too. So this is a really deeply healing time. And the knock-on effect of this is not just that you have better relationships, but that you really have a better relationship to yourself. That's a pretty good gift, right? Right there. Now, something else that's going on for you in this month ahead is, I think, the energy of the new moon in the 3rd house in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, this new moon is really there to show you it's time to be a bit more social. It's time to learn again. It's time to develop a greater sense of belonging in your community. And it's kind of daring you. It's really encouraging you to be more visible in your community, get out and about, do things, participate. So participation and belonging are 2 really strong themes. So if you've got something going on right now that you'd really like to develop or move towards, and maybe it hasn't already moved enough, consider how including a sense of belonging, participation, consider how that might affect your project. Is it going to enhance it? To me, as I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that participation and, a full-hearted step into the world of others, and that sense of belonging that you get when you do that. In that participation comes the information that you need to really sew it up and to get it moving. Now, the next thing that I would comment on, because immediately after the new moon, Mercury is going retrograde from Capricorn in your 4th house back into the 3rd. What that's symbolizing to me is that it's almost like you were trying to whiz through life a little bit and kind of rest at home during the month of December. It's almost felt like your mind and what's been occupying you has really just come home to roost. Like, you want to be at home, you want to relax at home, you don't really want to be out and about, you don't really want to be participating necessarily. But when Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th, there's the invitation to reconnect with people. So it's really urging you to think differently, like realize what you're seeing as being different, like between you and your friends and you and the people in your community. Like, what is that difference telling you? And then it's inviting you to tell a different story about it and to communicate as if there was a different story. This is all very much, the third house is all about communication. It's a house that Mercury is really happy in. So yeah, there's more to talk about. So overall, this is all very much about other people and your relationship to them. And as you are resolving things and talking more and sharing more and being really, really open about what makes you feel vulnerable, it's really helping you. Now, the last couple of things I want to share with you. So Venus is your ruling planet and she's all over the place. So she starts off in Libra, then spends most of her time in the sign of Scorpio, and then goes into the sign of Sagittarius. So one thing I really want to add to this interpretation is that Venus is uncharacteristically intense in this month ahead. And, as your ruling planet, you're likely to feel not very Libran-like, and Librans really kind of pride themselves on keeping their cool and being really balanced and being really diplomatic and making everything work and taking responsibility for the fact that everyone needs to get on at a social event and this, that, and the other. So, you are usually the life and soul. You are usually getting involved in things. But in this month ahead, there is this intense feeling. And maybe that's just perfect timing because, as you are going into this intense feeling space, there's things for you to resolve about, the level of sociability that you have. So it all feels like it's very much divine timing. Last thing then to focus on for the month of December, right at the end of the month, there's the full moon at 4 degrees in the sign of Cancer, and it's taking place in your 10th house, which is very much about being seen. Funnily enough, it's very much about the worries and vulnerabilities that you might have about taking full responsibility. The 10th house is about taking responsibility for things, for owning things, for calling things out, for moving things on. So, if I was to sum up this whole month ahead for you, Libra, I would say that this month has a real theme and flow about taking action with your relationships so that you can be seen again. So it's possible that in recent months you felt like things haven't quite been right, but not known how to put them right. This is your opportunity to put things right so you can get back out and get seen again and feel really good that you're being seen again. So I hope that's helpful to you, Libra. And I look forward to catching you in the new year. Lots of love. Have a great December. Bye for now. So Scorpios, let's have a look at your month ahead. I don't know what to say really, because let's face it, last month was pretty intense. You had your new moon in Scorpio, and then we had Mars Casimi on the 18th, with Mars in, a very tight conjunction with the sun. And on the same day, we had the moon in a conjunction with Pluto. And of course, both Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio. Did I say that they were sextile as well? I mean, there was a lot going on. So where are things heading for you in the month of December? Well, the sun has moved further. It's now, really in the sign of Sagittarius. It's going through your second house right now. Mars is also there. Venus is mainly in your first house, and that's something worth celebrating. So I'll talk about that uniquely in just a moment. But yeah, it just feels that things are moving on. It's not so much about you and your identity right now. Things have moved on into a space of really like, how much am I valued? Am I appreciated? And where is the appreciation for my skills? So, the second house, as you might know, is associated with money and resources, but it's also associated with how we receive ourselves, how we value ourselves. Do we put a price on ourselves? How are we feeling about that? And you can see with Mars, your ruling planet, one of your ruling planets, it's in the second house of values and earning money. So as far as I can see, it feels like it's go, go, go. It's like, how can I move this forward? How can I progress on this as soon as possible? Now, as we are in the month of December as well, there's some lovely energies, some trines. So we've had the trine from the Sun to Chiron early in December. And then we have Mars in a trine to Chiron. And at the same time, the Sun's in a trine to the North Node. This is linking up the second house of values and how we value ourselves and how other people value us, and all of our resources. And it links us up to the sixth house, which is about our day-to-day running of things, our health, our fitness. It's very much about the smooth flow. And it's also, I think, very much about the narrative we hold in life for our possibilities. Like, what do we believe our life to be like? What do we believe the world to be like? And how do our lives kind of match up with that? And does that ease my transition or make it harder? So many different aspects to talk about with this. But anyway, these trines I see as healing the way you live your life. So what I see as a particular source of inquiry for you in this month ahead is that you are now really thinking about the impact of your value and how you can earn your money, earn your resources, how you can receive more in such a way that you can create the life flow that you want. So, for instance, for most of us, it's all well and good if we can be happy that we are living here, in this Western world. I'm guessing most people watching this are predominantly living in a Western culture, and so there's this agreement that we've all got that we earn money so that we can pay rent, that we can own a car, that we can go to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and we might have a family, we might have a husband or wife, or and we might live in a particular way, and it's been pretty prescribed. And of course, Scorpios don't like to be told what to do in general. And they may well struggle with these particular criterions, criteria that we've got to live by, this narrative that we're expected to follow. And of course, with Chiron going through this area, it tends to help us worry about our health. I mean, I don't think anyone should really worry about our health, but it does bring up the whole idea of where is my health going? Where is my vitality going? How does that impact on the day-to-day running of my life? How do I adapt my life so that I can still earn and I can still stay sane and healthy and make it all work? And so this is the dynamic that I really see coming to the fore in this month ahead, is that we've got the opportunity to think about it, but also to feel it. Now, where I would do it, if I was in your shoes, Scorpio ascendant, and actually I am because I have Scorpio ascendant, I would really recommend finding out about where your biggest vulnerabilities are, because where your vulnerabilities are, it's showing something that's not healed in yourself. And so if your vulnerability in the way your life is flowing, if that's about, how much work you're doing, how much work you're doing that you don't have a work-life balance or you don't have a family life balance, you need to see that vulnerability and feel it. It's no good talking about it. Oh yeah, I have this problem. I work too much. I don't connect with my family enough. Because when you name it like a pain, it's almost like a trinket that's sat on your mantelpiece. You look at it, and every time you look at it, you go, oh God, there's that pain again. But you don't really realize that you can change it because you've moved it outside of yourself. And so, and you might have the pain might be like my frozen shoulder or like my dodgy knee, that might be your pain. And notice that when you talk about your pain, it's always something like you say it's yours and then you name it, but you don't when I say like my frozen shoulder, it sounds like it's not part of the rest of my body. It's not in integration. So what I would consider if I was in your shoes in this month ahead is, where are your pains? How are you talking about your pains? What are they? Because where you're seeing them, they're not integrated as part of your overall system. And so with this lovely Sun trine Chiron energy, this Mars trine Chiron energy, the Sun trine North Node energy, I see that there is a value proposition for yourself whereby you can value those pains, you can value those insecurities, those vulnerabilities. You can see them, you can recognize them, and you can integrate them somehow. You can see them and say, oh, I realize I've had this pain about my home all this time, or have a pain about my workload all this time. And whilst I've been in pain about it, I've also been resisting it. I've also been complaining about it. I've also been doing this, that, and the other. And of course, if you're in a complaint about any of this, and of course, Scorpio ascendants can really complain, just FYI. Sorry if I'm offending you, but yeah, we do kind of know what's not right, and we don't like it. The key is to not be in resistance. So how can you start loving and appreciating the things that are showing up that you're vulnerable about? Because all they are actually are symptoms. They're just showing up that something's out of balance. And if you can start to look at it and say, okay, I accept this is out of balance. I'm not going to see it as the bogeyman anymore. I'm not going to see it as the thing that's ruining my life. But I'm going to start seeing it as just part of my life. And I'm going to start to recognize that it has a place. And actually, the reason why I'm ill, or the reason why this is happening, is because I'm not fully integrated. So the challenge here, I think, Scorpio ascendant, is to accept every part of yourself fully, completely, and make it okay. Yep. I recognize I work a lot right now, and I'm okay about it. And because I'm okay about it, I'm not creating a problem about it. And because I'm not creating a problem about it, I will find the resources within myself to know the right solution. When we are at odds with something, it's really hard to find the right solution. So this can be a really, truly miraculous month if you can only hear yourself. If you hear yourself putting yourself at odds with yourself, it's a lot of yourselves there. But once you start hearing the oddness that you're creating in yourself, the separation, that's when the healing can begin. So start by valuing yourself and your situation and your resources, and all the receivership that you're going to get, all the people that want to pay you, all the people that want to compliment you, all the people that want to help you on your journey. The moment you can see it all as connected, the easier it's going to be. So that, I think, is your next big challenge. And may I put it to you that on the 12th, on the day of the new moon, you think about some things that you would like to receive. So don't think about things that you're trying to create, but wonder, how can I receive more? How can I enjoy receiving? How can I be fully open to receiving things that are given to me? Because here's another thing. Scorpio ascendants, yeah, we might aspire to have wealth and this, that, and the other. But a lot of us like to be in control about how we earn. A lot of us prefer to be in control about what flows into our life and what stays out of our life. And of course, if you're controlling what can come in, you could miss some opportunities. So start asking yourself big questions about what you can receive, and start asking yourself bigger and bigger questions like, how could this get better? How could this be an even bigger possibility? What else is possible? What else is possible to receive and enjoy? What else is possible to flow to me with ease and joy and glory? And just keep asking those beautiful and big open-ended questions so that you can start receiving big style. And of course, that's when the hard work starts, because that's when you actually have to start receiving and saying, thank you, even though it's really quite uncomfortable to receive things that you hadn't quite planned for. But life will do that. On the 13th, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's coming from your third house and back into your second. So yes, you might have been getting comfortable and feeling like you had more influence and feeling like, woohoo, people are listening to me. Isn't that great? Actually, you need to just step back and go back into loving yourself again and go into receivership again. And as you go into receivership, think, how many more people want to be influenced by me? How many more people want to love and appreciate me and receive my information? How can I receive more people loving the work I do and appreciating it? And then hopefully by the time you filled yourself up, as Mercury starts to move forwards again, you're going to start to see some real change. Last thing then that I want to share with you is that the full moon on the 27th is going to be in your 9th house. You might really feel the need to be moving, You might start to feel like you've got itchy feet. You might start to feel like there's so much more information I need and so little time. But, whatever's happening, what's really coming up is this need for continuous expansion. And of course, in the way that I was describing before about how the Scorpio ascendant tends to be a little bit boundaried in the sort of energies it allows in and the energies it puts up walls against. And I say that really quite purposefully because there are lots of Scorpio ascendants out there that seem really mild-mannered and don't appear to have any boundaries. But what you might find is that they're really good empaths and that they actually live their lives as a recluse. So they're not actually putting up any physical boundaries, but they are keeping themselves away. So, some Scorpios are happy to hurt themselves rather than hurt other people. So if you are a Scorpio or like a Scorpio ascendant, this full moon here showing you that you need more awareness and you could be more open to possibilities. It could be uncomfortable. So really feel into it and think, where am I uncomfortable about receiving more? Where am I uncomfortable about knowing more, being more, striving for more? Allow those restrictions to go. Ask yourself, or tune in to find out what you need to let go of to be able to be more open, because in this flow of openness, that's where your good is coming from. So there you go. I'm going to leave that there. I hope that's good enough for you, Scorpio ascendant, and I wish you a great month ahead, and I'll catch you in the new year. Bye for now. Okay, Saggy, your turn now. How are you feeling? I hope you're well. So this is your time. And this is your new moon. So it's taking place on the 12th. This is quite an exciting time for people with a strong Sagittarian sort of energy, in particular the Sagittarian ascendants. But I see as a Sagittarian that this energy is also pretty good for me too. It's quite giggly. Anyway, the thing that I'm really focusing on right now is your need to be creative, and how that is really coming from the renewed sense of who you are and how you are in this position right now to recreate you. Now, the first house is very much about your body, but it's also about how you look, how you seem, and like your personal brand. Like, what do people know about you when they meet you? Are you warm and exciting? Are you slightly aloof? What do people notice about you? So this is your personal brand, and it feels like there is this sense of a sense of choice. You've got a choice point here in this month ahead. So not only does this month start off with Mercury in Sagittarius. I mean, it goes into Capricorn the next day or on the first day, and then it goes retrograde back into Sagittarius. So Mercury isn't really finished in Sagittarius, so we've got this continuous Mercury Sag vibe, I think. The sun's in Sagittarius until the 22nd. So that's a big point. We've also got Mars in Sagittarius all month. That's really transforming how you come across, how you seem, your motivations. It's giving you so much kind of energy and push and drive to be yourself, like really to be yourself. And then Venus, she's been going through your 12th house, but towards the end, she comes in, crosses over this. And she's really, I always think that when Venus goes through your first house, she's really showing you where you've got glamour. She's really showing you where you've got a bit of class and where you can get a bit of influence. So this is the start of a new influential journey as we're coming into that time when, towards the end of the month. This is really good. So yeah, I think this is a month that's going to change you and transform how you are seen and how you see yourself. Now, one of the ways that this is happening, I think, is in the healing the creative rift for you, or like there's a chasm between like who you think you are and therefore what you can create. And so, like you've had Chiron going through the 5th house for quite some time. It's been there for ages. And Chiron, shows us where we're vulnerable and possibly where our needs aren't being met, and possibly where we're too proud to ask for change. and also possibly where we just don't know where to start with something. It feels like a core wound that we can't quite overcome. But when we get over this core wound, we've got the chance to really create some magic, and we become a bit of a mentor. We become an expert. We become a master of the energy. And so you're currently on this creative mastery plan. You don't know it, but you are. You're learning how to master your creation. And so, for women of childbearing age, this might have been a challenging time. Maybe you've wanted children and it's not happened. Maybe you haven't found the right partner yet. There's all sorts of things that can go on for somebody who is of birthing age at this time, with Chiron going through here. It's definitely not an indication that it won't work. But I would ask yourself, like, what are you fearful of creating? Where are you where are your fears playing into this whole process? Now, it's not just about birthing either. It's also, like, the fifth house is also about romance. And so, if Chiron's going through this, you may well have found that you've been afraid to connect with somebody romantically. Like, it really represents our sensuous and sexual energy. So, Chiron going through here might be reminding us that it's painful putting ourselves out to be touched and moved and inspired and orgasmic with another person. We might also have given up on creating things. So we might have some painful wounds about being creative and having hobbies in the past. And, we might have lost hope and faith and forgotten what we really enjoyed doing. One thing that I would say about this area is that there's also a pain of what we create and then lose. So, Mercury, and it's not Mercury, Chiron, when it goes through this area, it shows us the pain of the sort of public birthing. Like, you might do a beautiful painting and you let people see it, and then somebody criticizes it and it's like, oh God, no, that's too much. Or things just don't work out as well as we'd hoped with something that we'd put a lot of time and effort and absolute passion into. So it's quite a tough place, but it's there to make us master it. It's there to encourage us to have faith, and to really learn that we can create and that we should create. And actually, that when we don't hold on to our creations, when we create for the sheer joy of creating, things go so much better. And here's the thing. So you're rebranding at the moment. You're rethinking who you are and how you are, and you've got the energy and determination to do it. You're getting the Venus facelift kind of thing as it comes into the first house later on. Mercury's still considering the changes you're making. He's going to come back and do that. And you've got this lovely new moon. Moreover, we've got the trine from Mars to Chiron showing it's time to take action. It's time to realize that we really can create. So actually what I see going on here in this month ahead is your joy in creation is coming back. And it's coming back because you're knowing yourself more now. And maybe by asking yourself, what am I afraid to create? You might realize who you need to be able to do that. So all of this is linked up together, and now is your big moment to do it. And I say that with a sense of drama, obviously. Actually, you can do it whenever the hell you like. You don't have to do it right now. But I see that the energy flows are there to heal a real wound about birthing a new creation, about bringing that soul energy to life. And it is scary. Whatever it is you're trying to create right now or connect with, it's scary, and it's in your hands. And this is the great thing. It is in your hands. So it all comes back to self. Really, truly all comes back to self. Now, currently your ruler, Jupiter, is in the 6th house. He's helping you to get a sense of proportion. There's a thought for a Sagittarian. Taurus, the sort of Jupiter Taurus energy is great. It's helping you to realize you can live bigger. It's really helping you realize you can do a lot more than you realize. And so it's probably got a lot busier in your life since Jupiter went into the sign of Taurus. But don't worry about that, because really what's happened is you've been pushed to express yourself. You've been pushed to get really busy, and all of that push as exhausting as it has been, has helped you to make some more informed decisions. It's given you more polarity to experience your life through, and that's a good thing. So yeah, what are you going to do? How are you going to create? How are you going to use this energy? My last thought then, before I leave you, Sagittarian energy people, is that the full moon on the 27th is in your 8th house. So you might find this whole process, if you're still embroiled in it, feels intense. You might be feeling very intense about your life, how far you've progressed, where you still feel you are. You might feel like you're stuck between a couple of stages. You might feel you're stuck between a couple of stages because you're still listening to the inner mum or the inner dad that told you that you couldn't do this, or why can't you be normal, or why can't you do this, or you're such a, all these different judgments. And you might be actually relating to those. Whatever's going on around the full moon, whatever judgments you're holding, it's time to let them go. Or just to say, that's an interesting point of view. And then just take a moment and think, that's interesting, but not take it in. Now, I wonder if you can do that. I'm sure you can, because you're playful enough. So just allow yourself, at the time of the full moon, anything that comes towards you, just say, that's interesting. It's an interesting point of view. It's an interesting perspective. And right now, I'm just choosing it to keep it outside of myself whilst I consider it. Thank you very much. So anyway, have fun with that. And hopefully, Sagittarius, I'll see you in the new year. I look forward to connecting with you then, and take care. Have a great December. Lots of love. Bye for now. So Capricorn, let's have a look at your chart. Now, this is an interesting month for you because we've got the whole solstice energy going on. And what do I mean by that? Well, you are setting the scene for a new season, baby. So when the sun goes over 0 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, that triggers the winter solstice or the December solstice. If I say winter, that's very northern hemisphere specific. So let's include everyone here and call it the December solstice. It's the start of our winter, and it's the start of summer for people down below. And as such, I always think the chart of the solstice or the equinox, it sets us up for the scene of the next season ahead. It really lets us know what's going on. So I do think this month ahead is going to be pretty dynamic, because it's like you're wrapping up the energy of the last season, and there's something about your energy system that you're born into that is setting the scene for the next one. And this is your one. It's not just any old solstice or equinox. It's your one. It's the one of your birth. So it's important. This is a changing time for you. Now, what else is interesting, I think, is the full moon that's occurring on the 27th. So this is going to be showing up as quite a bit of polarity for you. It's going to be creating tension between you and then everyone else that seems overly emotional and overly triggered by things. So it's a time to absolutely keep your head and decide not to take it all personally, because I think people with Capricorn ascendant often notice that the people in their lives are so dramatic, so up in the air, so so moved by things. They're always reacting to everything and getting quite upset about stuff. And this full moon is often quite difficult, but it's not something to shy away from, is what I would say. Don't shy away from it. So what I'm going to do is just step you through the energies of this month ahead, so that as we culminate with this right at the end of the month, this, I want to be able to give you advice so you're prepared to go into the new year on a real high note, not on a place of frustration because of the emotional people in your life. So, where do I start? First of all, I want to talk very much about where am I going to go? I'm going to go here, actually. Your ruler, Saturn, is moving forwards again. So it's starting to feel good. And Saturn now is going to start to pick up pace. So he's going from 1 to 3 degrees just in this month, and then it's going to get quicker and quicker. And by mid 2024, Saturn's already more than halfway through the sign of Pisces. So you are going to start to feel that your life is picking up now. And it's felt very much like it's kind of on hold a little bit. It's like you've got the starter engine has been going for a long time, but it's like, how do you release the handbrake? It's been really tough. But now it's like the handbrake is coming off and you're able to start to move forwards. So that's great. And it's moving you forwards into a place of influence. So, you know, what I really recognize is it's time for you to move, and it's time for you to feel more successful. It's time for you to feel that you can be appreciated for everything you're contributing into your community. It's time to feel like you belong a lot more. So I love that. Now you've got Mercury going into your own sign on day one, but then it's going retrograde on the 13th and then heading back into Sagittarius. This feels a bit like a false start. And I can see that it might feel like, yay, starting to feel like myself again, like communication's getting a bit more direct. People are less woolly in their thinking. You know, from your perspective, it will just feel like people are starting to function properly again coming up to Christmas. And actually, it's like a false start. It feels like people are getting ready and then they're taking a step back. Now, during this time, the sun is going through the last couple of decans in the sign of Sagittarius as you're going into December. And what this, to me, is really bringing up is the fact that there's a lot of unfinished business. So what I'm really seeing with this December lark for you, Capricorn, is that this is a month of two halves. And I haven't really said it to anyone else so far, but for you, it really is, you know, because the first half of this is spent being a little bit more introverted, maybe a bit more critical because you're reviewing things a lot. And because, you know, Mercury in the sign of Capricorn tends to be quite conservative and can be quite judgmental. So I suspect, you know, that in the first couple of weeks, you're in a place of judging yourself and judging others and reviewing things, and maybe reviewing things a little bit pessimistically. And it's okay. You know, I'm not going to say don't do that. But what can you learn from that? Like, what can you learn from the fact that, right, you know, in the first couple of weeks, you're feeling a little bit more introverted? It feels to me like you're already sort of planning into 2024. And it's almost like you can't stop to have Christmas and you can't stop to enjoy yourself. It almost feels like you've gone up to December, you've gone up to November, and then all of a sudden in December is like a big planning meeting, and you've sort of gone into the cover of darkness, got your diary out, and you're looking ahead at everything and just thinking, okay, I need to do this, and you're really like cracking on, but you almost are looking for the peace and quiet. You're not wanting to be disturbed. You're really wanting to just do your own thing, and that's great. So yeah, if that's your tendency, do it, but be really practical about it. And if you start to feel yourself going down and to get a bit critical, just remind yourself that every sign of the zodiac tends to go into a sort of dark night of the soul in the sign before its ascendant. So for instance, you know, I've got Scorpio rising, and when the sun was in the sign of Libra, that was when I was starting to feel dark night of the soul, and vice versa. So, you know, when the sun is going through the sign before our sign, we often feel a little bit introverted and a little bit, you know, like we're not quite there. But this gets better. Now, the new moon in Sagittarius in the 12th is really there to work on your imagination and your intuition and on all the bits that people just don't really know about you. So, you know, in your planning, you want to include things about your hopes and dreams, and use your intuition and your imagination as much as you can. If you do it fully rationally, Capricorn, you're missing a trick. I really, really do urge you to, you know, if you are going under the cover of darkness, if you are going into hibernation, then please do use this time to think broad and think deep. Don't just think in black and white, you know, and I think that would be helpful. But the new moon is really there to help you propel your really highly cherished dreams that you thought you'd never be able to achieve. It's to focus on them. So from the 22nd, then things start to get easier. The sun is crossing over this point. You're coming into that first house energy. You're coming to feel more confident, more alive, more awake. And then, mid-January, as Mercury is coming back into Capricorn, you're starting to feel even more better. You're feeling a lot more in control of things. Now, during this time, Venus is very much here. So she's in a collaborative space. So even if you are going into hiding a little bit, I would always make sure you've got somebody who is your partner to the outside world. Make sure you've got some really good contacts in place that can keep you connected even during a time when you don't feel like being connected, because she is really quite intense. Like the friends and the connections that you have around you are actually really there to keep you steady during this time. The last thing that I want to share with you then is all of this introversion and this maybe dark night of the soul. Maybe it's just a really great cosmic life planning session that you're doing. All of it is really working at a better blueprint for yourself, and one that is eradicating the negative ravages of childhood and the problems that might exist for you in terms of a home. So we've got Mars trine Chiron and also the Sun trine Chiron, coming out of the 12th house of intuition and where some of your fears exist and things like that, your insecurities. And it's focusing on the 4th house, which is very much about your stability. So, whilst you are sort of in your man cave or woman cave or bat cave or whatever, build in some time to fully understand what it is that holds you back from that feeling of belonging that you actually want. I mean, you really are on a journey of belonging now, with Saturn going into the 3rd, which is all about belonging to a community and understanding that you're on a journey to belonging and a journey to greater stability. So really put in some useful intentions and dream work and whatnot to get this all activated. But of course, you'll do it in your own Capricorn way, which will be quite matter of fact. And I think that's really helpful. At the end of the month, I said I'd come here at the end. At the end of the month, you can have the Cancer full moon, and you might find that if you've hidden away for a while, people are going to be like, where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. You haven't been showing up. And that's the point in time to just see everything as information, and just recognize that the reason why people want you to show up is because you matter and because you belong in their world as well as you belonging in the world and your world. So if and when that happens, just say, I'm here. And how can we have fun? How can we work together today? With Saturn in your 3rd and this 1st, 7th house full moon, really it's the communication and it's the doing things, doing fun things and respecting each other whilst doing it that's going to resolve that. So anyway, Capricorn, an interesting one. Have a great month ahead. I'm pretty sure that as we get into next year, your first update is going to be all go, go, go. So make the most of this potential rest time and know that actually what you're coming up with is really deep seated stuff from the seat of your soul. So anyway, lots of love to you and see you next year. Bye for now. Aquarius. So what does the Aquarius need to hear in this month ahead? Okay, first of all, I want to start with the position of your rulers, which obviously have been there for a heck of a long time, because Saturn's been dancing here for quite some time, but is now going forwards in your 2nd house. That's great. It feels like things are starting to move forwards again. Now, Uranus is still retrograde, but is in between 20 to 19 degrees in the 4th house, which is quite helpful. And whilst it's in the fourth house, what it's been doing, it's been shaking things up for you, hasn't it? So, for you, Aquarian ascendants, it has felt like things have been shaken up at home for a really long time. And now with Jupiter going through this house as well, that has also been expanding any existing instability. But now you've got Saturn really fully in your second house. That's going to really help bring in some more money, some more resources, and really help you start to rebuild the foundations of your home. Now, I like that. I think that's quite helpful. And in particular, and I will be talking about this at some point in the near future, the connection between Uranus and Jupiter. I mean, that is going to be really creating some magic for you in terms of your stability and where you might live, where you might really want to thrive. Because, Uranus is a great planet. I love Uranus. It creates change. And so what's really clear about you, Aquarius rising, is that it's time for some really big changes, and to really integrate them. And so I really see December as a month of clearing a lot of these cobwebs out and really helping to get you ready for the new year. Now, one of the things I love about this month ahead is that there's this lovely Mars trine Chiron energy, and it starts with the sun in a trine to Chiron first, and then when Mars is trine Chiron, the sun is then trine the North Node. So it's all lots of support from the 11th house to the third. Now this is great because, and to be fair, Chiron going through your third house as houses go it's not benign. Chiron affects us in every house it goes through, but it's quite you're quite able to handle it. It's not like it's going through your first, your fourth, your seventh, your 10th. They create some really big change, but having Chiron going through your third is really bringing up old wounds to do with your sense of belonging. How good are your relationships with family and friends, and really like your peers from the past. Where were you failed in your early education? Have you found that what you were told has not prepared you for life? Do you feel like you belong in your community? Or have you run off and done other things? Aquarian ascendants probably have moved around quite a bit. So there is a wounding about belonging, I think. And in this month ahead, I really see that there's some healing that can take place. And it's because you're able to take action. And one of the ways you're able to take action is because it's coming from the 11th house, which is very much about your online communities, your virtual communities, the greater communities, the communities that you share grand visions with. So like, where does that connection happen for you, where you're connecting in such a big way? And how can you integrate that into a sense of belonging? So I think the big learning for you over this month ahead is that actually, do I need to belong to a local community, or actually do I belong to a global community? And where am I transacting? Am I in the global arena here, or am I very much local down here? And so, yeah, I do think there's a form of resolution for you in this month ahead, which I think is helpful. Now, the new moon on the 12th is really going to help with that. The new moon in the 11th house, I always think is really beneficial. I mean, one of the ways that I think of the 11th house as being, I think of it as the law of attraction house, because if you think the 5th house is very much about what you're creating yourself on your own, and the 11th is what you're creating with other people. And can there be any greater creation than what you're creating with that sense of source, or that sense of divine energy? Now, I mean, you might not believe in source or divine energy. You might believe it all exists within you, or I don't know. I don't know what your views on life are, and that's fine. So put your own language in. But the whole idea of the 11th house is you can dream it into reality, and you're co-creating it with somebody else. So I think of this as the law of attraction, because it's where our intention and our divine action come together and they manifest results. So this new moon in Sagittarius is perfect for you. And if it can be perfect for you in creating a greater community and a greater sense of cohesion, then bring it on, use it. Use it to your heart's content. It's there for you. Now, the day after the new moon, Mercury, that's going through your 12th house, watch out, by the way, because when Mercury goes to the 12th house, we can get a bit introspective. So, it's quite normal to feel a little bit down in the dumps when Mercury goes through your 12th. So don't pay that too much attention. Just think that's interesting that I think that. Anyway, stay as connected as you can so that you stay as buoyant as you can. You don't need to suffer on your own, is what I'm saying. But anyway, Mercury's going retrograde and it's coming back. To me, what that's saying is you've rushed ahead and made some plans and thought, yeah, I want to collaborate with this, I want to collaborate with that. This is what I need. This is what I don't need. This Mercury retrograde is here to show you what inner support you need, what inner qualities you need, and where your skill set is and how it's all going to pan out. I think it's absolutely perfect for you. So use the Mercury retrograde energy to tune in to all of those intuitive impulses, those intuitive little nuggets of information that you didn't hear before. It's really there to benefit you. Last thing that I want to talk about is on the 22nd, the sun is going into the sign of Capricorn. That often, when the sun goes into our 12th area of our charts, it often represents a time when we go inward a little bit, when we start to doubt ourselves, maybe when we might feel a bit tired. It's a bit like having a hibernation. So yeah, rest into it. Don't expect, don't put yourself under loads of pressure to keep doing stuff. Just be really kind to yourself. For me, I always think of it as my dark night of the soul, and that might not be a helpful thought. But, I just recognize that this time of year, I tend to get a bit more quiet and a bit more introverted. I need to rest a bit more. And then after my birthday, or because, yeah, my son's in my second house, but after the sun goes over my ascendant, I start to feel a lot more outward focused. So just bear that in mind. As we're going into this new season, it's giving you a chance to rest and recuperate and rebalance so that you can come out fighting fit in January 2024. Last thing then, the full moon is likely to show you where you've taken on too much and where you might need to rest a bit more. So it's really mirroring what I was saying. Rest up. Don't get too lost in the details of lots of different jobs and goals and tasks and things like that. You're so much more than a task list. So anyway, have a great month ahead, Aquarius, and I can't wait to connect with you in the new year. Lots of love. Pisces, how are you? Bless you. Now, isn't it great that we have chapters? I can't believe anyone would listen through the whole thing to get to you, but I always feel kind of bad as I'm recording Pisces because you're always the last one. But boy, this is I'm really excited for you in this month ahead. First of all, the first thing I really noticed is obviously the big full moon coming up in this month ahead is in a fellow water sign. So, it's in the sign of Cancer. And yes, it's likely to raise the emotions quite a bit. And you're obviously quite emotional and quite psychically driven. You're connected into lots of different things with your Pisces ascendant. So it is a pretty strong energy. But you've also got the sun going through Capricorn in the 11th. And so I actually see this as being quite beneficial. The 11th and the 5th houses are fairly easy to manage on a day-to-day level. They're not as drastic as, the angular houses. So yeah, this full moon, whilst it is in the sort of very emotional place of Cancer, I don't see it as being that negative towards you. And I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, where should we start? The first thing I want to say about this month ahead is, Jupiter is starting, he's going direct again from the 30th. So, Jupiter is one of your rulers and he's been retrograde for ages. He's been very slowly moving through the sign of Taurus. But from the 30th of this month, he's going to start going forwards again. And that's going to really supercharge everything, which I think is great. It's going to kind of get a wriggle on. And yeah, we'll start to see the real treasure that Jupiter's bringing us, especially when he connects with Uranus in April of next year. I'm looking forward to that. Neptune is also retrograde and has been for quite some time, but goes direct from the 6th of December. So, in December, it feels like, from the first week, things start to get easier straight away. So I really love that energy that things are going to start to move forwards and then start to really rocket forwards from the 30th. I think that's a good thing to know. Now, obviously, they've been going through your first and third houses. So everything to do with the value you're bringing into the world and what your identity is, and how people receive information from you. Are you influential in your community and stuff? That's all stuff that's ticking over very nicely. Now, as we start this month ahead, the sun is in your 10th house and it's going to be moving towards your 11th. And of course, on the 22nd, that's the pinnacle, that's the end of autumn and the official start of winter. So this is, I think, an important time, because the energy is moving from the 10th house and that focus of, the other Jupiter house for you, the 10th house in the sign of Sagittarius is about how you stand in the world, but how you feel and find freedom in the world for yourself. So your career should start to move forwards, in particular from when Jupiter starts rocketing forwards. This is just going to be really helpful. But the sun going through here and you've got Mars going through here all month. I think there's a lot of emphasis on what are you bringing the world? What's your role in the world? What's your purpose? And these are all quite heavy things. They weigh quite heavily for a lot of people. Now, you should get some peace on this, I think, because we've got this Chiron energy down here and also the North Node that's been going through your second house for a while. And Chiron's been here since 2017. So it's a long time that Chiron's been in your second house area for. And during that time, I'm imagining that you've had some ups and downs in your money, and also realized a lot of associated pain with what you earn, with what you own, and with the value that you're bringing the world. The second, I really think it's how we value ourselves, but obviously it's how other people value us too, because it's the money we receive. And I think it really brings up issues about, are we ready to receive? Are we happy to receive? If somebody pays us a compliment, do we take it? Do we accept it? Are we gracious? Or do we kind of throw it back in a kind of coy and slightly shy way? This learning that you're going through right now with the Chiron is really to make you stronger and to get you in a place of receiving information. It's really there to help you receive, really help you receive. And of course, for you to receive, you probably have to feel like you deserve it too. So this is quite a crash course in consciousness for you. And it has been for quite some time. And of course, now the North Node is coming through here as well. It's going to be really saying it's time to value yourself and your contributions. Even if the world doesn't seem to be paying attention, it's time for you to value what you're contributing to the world. And so in this month ahead, when first of all, the sun is in a trine to Chiron from your 10th house, and then Mars is in this area all month and goes into a trine with Chiron. This to me is the healing event. This is the thing that helps to change it. So there's something about what you're doing in the 10th house, or it's something about the recognition that you're getting, how people are seeing you, how people are receiving you, what people are saying about you. It's giving you some important intel. If anything, it's just showing you that people appreciate you. At some level, you are wanted, you are needed, you belong in this world. Your place is here for you and you must claim it. But actually, what I think is going to happen is just, you're going to get some feedback about the value that you're bringing in the world. And you may well also have that sense of possibility, that sense of, yes, I know I'm bringing value and I've got this great new idea. And this is where the new moon comes in. It's in the 10th house. It's excited. It's a Jupiter ruled house. and Jupiter is currently in the place of influencing and connecting people to your ideas. So that's pretty good. So I think this new moon time is very much about helping you see your value and really use your value, be your value, demonstrate your value, feel it and radiate it out. So there's a lot, a lot going on. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th, it's almost looking like feedback is coming back to you, so things that are being said about you in the marketplace, in the place where you network with your friends, with your collaborators, with your connections and networks, it's like it's all coming back to you through this Mercury retrograde. So again, I think that's also adding into the potentials for healing. You might hear something, might not be comfortable even, but you'll get a piece of information that gives you just what you need to be able to know what the next move is. So I think that's smart. I think it's good. And I think it's going to work in your favor. So this is a very beneficial energy. And I really think you should allow it to change you and move you forwards. There's two more things I want to mention to you. So throughout this month, Venus is largely going through your ninth house area. She's going to be in the sign of Scorpio early on in the month and stay there pretty much all month. At the end, she'll just go into Sagittarius. But as she goes over the 10th house cusp, that's a moment where we potentially feel quite glamorous and we get seen. But actually, during when she's going through the sign of Scorpio, I mean, she's quite intense. But in the ninth house, she's creating some interest. She's creating, so like wherever you are being philosophical, open-minded, spiritual, expanded, feeling adventurous, and all that jazz, where you're connecting into those energies, there's an intensity that is meeting you. And so that could also be informative as to what you might want to do in the world and how you might be recognized. And so it's all piecing together. There's this delicious flowing intensity about being expanded. So see how that fits in. The last thing then is, the full moon at the end of the month. It's in the 5th house, in the sign of Cancer. It's delicious, it's in a lovely trine to your 1st house. You may well feel quite creative, and you might also feel quite emotional about what you're creating. What I would suggest is that if something feels a little bit dangerous to share or put out in the world, like if you've done a beautiful piece of, I don't know, sculpture, or you've cooked something and I don't know, there's almost like a need for you to be private about what you're creating until you can look at it and feel warm by it, but not feel emotional about, I must hold on to this idea. It's really important that you're able to get a sense of proportion about what you're creating. It's almost like the mandala energy that you need to be able to create a beautiful mandala. And then when it's done and it's perfect and you spent all this time doing it, then you just blow it away and you just let it go. It's almost like, how can you be non-attached to what you're creating right now? Anyway, hope that's helpful for you, Pisces. Have a great month ahead, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Lots of love. So that was quite a long time. I did have a couple of breaks. You might have seen that. But yes, 2 hours and 11 minutes of forecasting is quite a lot for me. I hope you found that interesting. There's slightly longer readings this year, this month, I think, because we're coming to the end of the year and there's a lot of big patterns going on. But like I said at the start, if you want to know more about December on a week-by-week basis, then please do check out that video. There's a lot of detail there about all the different planetary flows that we can expect and enjoy. And also, don't forget, I've just recorded just last night. I did a live stream with Jasmina, Nicholas, and Fernanda about the planetary flows for next year. You can see that on my live playlist. And I will be doing a 2024 forecast later on this week, hopefully to release. And there will also be a solstice and how to say goodbye to this year and welcome in the new year recording. So there's lots coming up. So have a great, great month ahead. I've spoken a lot about Chiron on this. So, if you are curious about your Chiron and want to know more about Chiron, I have got a specific Chiron playlist So just look under my playlist. Also, like Pluto, Saturn, Uranus. I've got loads of different playlists that could help you decode your birth chart. So anyway, lots and lots and lots of love to you in December. And I look forward to connecting again with you real soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.